What's up, y'all? It's the Life Partner Gang here. I'm James.
I'm Tina.
And we are back with another episode of the Life Partner Gang.
Gang.
We're here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of all things relationships, partnerships, all that good stuff, man.
Why you ain't leave that in 2020?
Because I didn't want to, and you're not the boss of me.
Oh, my God. How old are you?
But anyways, we got a great topic that we want to get into today. But before we do that, wifey, what should they do?
Make sure that you subscribe wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube so that you are notified whenever we drop a new episode. And we're back to a rhythm. So the new episodes will keep coming. So you want to make sure you're subscribed.
Every week we're hitting y'all with that newness. So definitely make sure you tapped in so that we can be on your radar for these topics. Stay in those comments. Stay giving us additional topics that you want to see us cover. And we're going to keep getting into it. We wanted to touch on this topic right now. It's super relevant, and it impacts everybody with children. If you don't have children, but it's Kirk Franklin and what's happening with his son. What's his name? Carry On or something?
Carry On, yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys have been living under a rock, Kirk Franklin has been, I guess, under fire by some people. I don't understand why, but we'll get into that. In terms of his relationship with his son and him saying some not so flattering things to the young man. So what we want to talk about first is, was Kirk Franklin wrong in what he said to his child? And does he owe us an apology for that? So, wifey, what are your thoughts?
I don't think he owed us an apology because it's not our business. First of all, I mean, yes, his son took it to the internet and made it everyone's business when he decided to release that recording. But what goes on with that man and his family is ultimately between him and his family. And while, I'm not going to curse out and berate our small school-age children, adult children can be different. Not that I have any adult children, but I have, we just have family and I have adult siblings. And right. I have seen firsthand how some adults can talk to their parents like they're not their parents anymore. And if you're my adult child talking to me out the side of your neck, I'm liable to respond, any kind of way. Like for a second, I might forget, for a split second, I might forget that you're my child, and or I might remind you that I brought you into this world and I will take you out. Doesn't make it right. However, it happens. People can be provoked, and I just don't feel like it's my place to judge because one, is not our business, but two, we don't know the full scale of that conversation. We don't know what was said up until that point. I just know, and I know we've seen those type of conversations be provoked, and then, the person wants to play victim, and that's not how that works. Because you talk to me like you grown, I'm going to respond to you like you grown.
Yeah. I agree with what you said. I think one, we don't understand, or we don't know the history of what happened between that family. And family business is family business. So from my standpoint, I have a couple of issues with what happened, but really none of it on Kirk Franklin's side. I think Kirk Franklin is a hero.
A hero? That's dramatic, but continue.
I do think he's a hero because, as we always talk about, like the pussification of the world, right? There's this thing that's happening where the world is becoming more
you can't just
pussified. And sometimes you got to have conversations with people, and you got to come down to their level to have a conversation with them. And so, like, I have an issue with the Christian community in this situation, and I say this being a Christian myself. First of all, who are y'all to judge Kirk Franklin and what he got going on? Kirk Franklin is a human being, first and foremost, over everything else. So having issues because he makes gospel music, he's not a pastor.
Even if he was,
because I know pastors that curse too. I know some of y'all who go to church every Sunday that are some of the best cursers on earth. So let's be real and let's be honest. Because he goes to church or because he makes gospel music, that doesn't mean that he's not a human. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't fall short. All of us fall short every day.
The only perfect Christian was Christ. That's why we striving to be like him.
Absolutely. We want to be Christ-like, but we fall short daily. So to be mad at him because he said those things, I think that's an issue. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't know that man. You don't know how he talks at home and whatever.
And that was my issue. Like, please sweep up the toxic family traits from around your own front porch.
Or you start casting them stones. Yes, don't start casting them stones when you're living in a glass house yourself. Secondly, we got to stop referring to Carry On as a child. he is Kirk Franklin's child, but he's a grown man.
Yeah,
He's
our
32,
age.
about to be 33 years old. So
Grown.
he's grown. And if you having conversations with your adult parent and you saying stuff that's going to push a button, you know how to pluck a nerve or strike a nerve, then yes, sometimes somebody's going to run down on you. That's what happens when you strike nerves with people. And there are certain personalities, we know this because we either related to these people, we've dated these types of people. Certain people know what to say to get under your
And
skin.
they would literally continue to poke and poke and poke
until they
you
get
react.
a reaction.
And right now, all I can think about is Elf. When he's on the elevator and just pushing all the buttons. Like, it's some people that's their personality type. They literally are doing everything in their power to get a reaction out of you. And sometimes turn the other cheek. But sometimes some people are not satisfied until you react because they need it.
And maybe he did turn the cheek multiple times and we don't know it. All we know is that he reacted and this person recorded the reaction. They didn't record all the stuff before or really any of the stuff after. They just recorded this little snippet. So I have an issue, one, with the Christian community jumping down Kirk Franklin's throat about his behavior. I have an issue with people thinking that he has to apologize. If he's going to apologize to anybody, that's to his son. Yeah. And that's if he decides to, because I think in that situation, both sides probably owe each other an apology. Like, I'm sure homeboy said something that made Kirk, because Kirk went in his full preacher bag. Like, he was about to, like, in my mind, I envision him like wanting to drop kick homeboy. Like,
said when I first heard it, I said he said, "I will break your neck," with the same conviction he asked us, "Do we want a revolution?" Because he did.
Yes. So you had him like really upset, which is understandable considering the history they have. My big issue though is, and you know how I am about this in regards to everything. Family business is family business. Yeah. And there's no reason for that conversation to be taped by either party and then to be put on the internet because, one, you're clearly still in this man's pocket somehow. Like, he's providing for you in some sort of way. So what do you gain by trying to tear him down and get him canceled? If he doesn't have the bag anymore, that just hurts the whole family, including you. So what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a motive and not a positive motive, you know, with him putting that out. So that's already like made me look at the situation just from a different perspective because he's after something.
It's cloud chasing. Yeah. I mean, it's 100% and then I don't want to come across as like we don't know that kid, so we don't know what he's gone through and what trauma he had. It seems like I went to his page and saw him going back and forth with his half sister and everything. The half sister was defending her daddy, and homeboy was like, "You stole my dad from me." Like, so there's clearly some issues there that need to be dealt with. And you know, they alluded to having a therapist and going. You know, there needs to be more healing that happens with everybody. But that's family business, so that business should be handled within the family and not for the world. That's why I don't feel he owes any of us an apology, because that ain't us. We don't know what goes on in that household. We can't judge him.
I think he apologized because, you know, it was, you know, cancel culture can be,
it's real,
outrageous. So he was definitely trying to like salvage, you know, the relationship with the people. I'll admit I absolutely listened to both Something About the Name Jesus and Brighter Day and a few others today because they're in my playlist and they're not going anywhere.
Right.
So
we love Kirk Franklin.
Yeah. You
Flaws
know,
and all.
God bless them, and I hope that they are able to come to some type of understanding and some type of healing, because I know the strain of having like a bad relationship with a parent. So yeah. I do, my heart breaks for him on that regard, but even still on my worst day and our worst conversation, I'm not about to put that on social media. I'm not.
No.
I will not. I would just not talk to the person. I'm not going to put it on social media.
And that's how I am. So I think when it comes to relationships with parents, grandparents, whatever, there always has to be, or at least this is how I operate, there has to be a level of respect to where I'll walk away and not talk to you before I disrespect you. Yeah. Because you can't often come back from disrespect. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you could say something to somebody that they'll hold on to for the rest of their lives. So before it gets to that point, it's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to just peace out from the combo. Me and you, maybe we don't talk for a week, maybe we don't talk forever, however long it needs to be. But I'm not going to disrespect you because I can't come back from that.
Right. And carry on is well within his right if he feels like he cannot forgive his father for what he said. I mean, but, you know, even still, it didn't have to be put on social media.
No, it didn't. You could have definitely kept that within the family. You chose to put it on social media because you were looking for, excuse my wife and her influencer alarms.
Time to go get the kids.
You definitely have situations where you feel a certain type of way, you're angry, you're upset, and you want to react. But, you know, you got to think about the bigger picture here. And tearing your pops down isn't going to help any of y'all. So, you know, I what I pray for them is that they can all find the healing that's necessary so that they can move forward as a family. But I pray also that the world gets out of their business and stops judging them and lets them figure out like what's the next steps.
Right, because it's people right now today that have family members that they are not speaking to and probably don't plan to ever speak to again. Like, go fix that.
Yeah.
Before you judge.
Before you over there judging them.
Just mind the business that pays you.
Absolutely. So then I think that's good to chat about them. Everybody's kind of went ad nauseum about them. You know, I think, but the other conversation I wanted to have was just about discipline in children in general. And it's funny because we had this convo this morning on the Dear Fathers podcast too, one of our guests, and we talked about,
Did you clear plugging your podcast open?
I'm playing. Hold on.
Plugging your podcast on my podcast. I'm kidding.
Relax. We talked about discipline and how, like, in 2021, it's almost like you ain't supposed to discipline your kids anymore. You know what I mean?
You are. I just think that we have to be more open-minded in the techniques in which we discipline them.
Yeah, but depending on who you ask, and I'm looking at y'all white people, you ain't supposed to spank your kids anymore. And the person we were talking to this morning was like, I definitely spank my kids. And he was like, I would prefer to spank them when they're younger so that now when they're at the age where they get into their teenage years and approaching that, I don't have to because we got that out the way in the beginning. So,
but you know, I don't like spanking either.
You don't, but I think
I'm not going to stop you if you feel like it's gotten to that point. I will try to save them until I'm blue in the face. But, you know, I think that.
All right, but popping and spanking is the same thing because you.
I will pop Luke.
You popped a kid and a white lady stopped you in the store and told you to watch it before.
I did pop poo. I have popped my kids. I've popped all of them, Zoe, Luke, but not like I'm not about to like get out no belt and tell you to pull your pants down. And I think I popped him because he ran into the street.
No. You was in the store. You was in the store and a lady ran up on you like you better watch it. And you told her.
I don't know what he must have did, but I did. But at most, I'm like I'll pop your hand. Or I might like pop your leg or something, but I'm not about to like full on like whip. It's not for me. It broke my heart, so I can't do it.
Yeah, but look, so here's the thing though. Back to the pussification of the world.
God, I am not pussifying my children.
We can't now while I agree that, you know, the days of going and saying, go get a switch and I'm gonna light your ass up and those types of things, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. And I don't think that, you know, for those who were beat, like those of y'all who have the scar and the scar tissue from being beat as a child, you shouldn't just do that to your child because you went through it. But I also don't think that there's a one-size-fit-all approach when it comes to disciplining children.
No, there isn't.
And that's where I think the world is trying to push us to, is that every child should just be talked to. You should put them in timeout, and that should work. Timeout don't work on every kid. And we have 3 children right now. And
every single one of them
is different. And the youngest one, nothing works.
He might make me eat my words because sometimes I'd be like, boy, you better go.
He's 2 years old and he is stubborn as hell.
He's so strong-willed.
You tell him he's strong-willed. You tell him to do something, no. You're like, all
no.
right, well.
And he will say no like he the grown-up.
He will say no with all of the force of the world behind him. He says it from his chest as if his chest was like 60 inches wide. Like,
he does.
He doesn't care. And you could be like, all right, well, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get ice cream. And he just sit there. He don't care.
No, I said no. You said what? He's a trip. So right. Yeah, all of our children are very different. But and I guess it just comes down to knowing your child. Because I know for me personally as a child, I did get whipped, whooped. I did with a belt. I've had to pick my own switches. I've had to like sit in the tub and soak after like so my welts can go down. I have had my butt whooped. But
Got your ass whooped.
yes, I did not respond well to whooping. Like, because I was the kid that you whoop me, okay, I can go outside in 30 minutes. Like, you know, once I've gotten myself together and dropped my tears. What I responded word more so to being like grounded or having things taken from me. Like, I specifically remember as a teenager that, you know, I've always been crazy about sneakers. Like, sneakers have always been my thing. Like, they would take certain shoes or like only leave me with like Bobos or something. Like, that hurt me more than like, you know, that broke through to me more than getting spanked.
All right, so I know what to do to get through to you now then. Get rid of the lubes, no more Chanel, and, you know, get you some Bobos and be good.
Sir, I will burn it all your stuff. Don't play with my clothes.
I know
my
how to
shoes.
get,
Don't
I
play
know
with
how
my
to get
shoes.
through to you
That's
now.
what we not
got
gonna
it.
do.
Got it. Mental
All
note.
right, we're gonna be waiting to exhale.
But nah, so then you're right. Every kid doesn't respond differently. You got whooped. Whoopings didn't really do much to you. It was the things taken away from you that hurts. But on the flip side, though, there are kids who taking shit away doesn't mean anything to them. Mm-hmm. Grounding them doesn't mean anything to them. They're going to do their time. They're going to come out and they're going to do the same thing again. So in them situations, you have to have the flexibility. And so you should never abuse your child. There's a couple of things that I think if you ever decide you're going to punish your child physically, you should never do it while you're angry.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're angry, that means that you're coming from a place of trying to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be doing that. But I can't tell somebody else how to discipline their child or what's right for their child because every child is different and every child responds differently. And that's where I don't like where the world is going, is telling us or telling people from a blanket standpoint that you can and can't do these things. That's messed up. When it comes to the emotional side of things, though, I don't think you should be talking crazy to your child. Mm-mm. Now, if Carry On and Kirk Franklin's going back to that situation, if that dude was 8 years old or 10 years old or 15 or 17 years old, the conversation that Kirk had with him, he probably shouldn't have had.
No, you absolutely should not tell no 8-year-old you won't break their neck.
Nah, you shouldn't tell him that. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be talking to him like, you know, an N-word off the street, anything like that as a child. Because those types of things can sometimes be more damaging than the actual physical abuse. So you shouldn't do that. But you know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, everybody is going to discipline in a way that they seem or they deem fit for what they're doing. And parents, a lot of times, are just trying to do the best that they can.
Yeah, or they're doing, you know, what they know or what they learned from their parenting. Right. But the reason why I am so open to, you know, doing something other than spanking is because I know spanking didn't work for me as a child.
Right.
So I'm open to trying to have a conversation, to limiting privileges, to just trying to talk them through why, especially now that little James is older, so why, you know, his decision wasn't the best decision to make, even though he, you know, last year when he had his whole school little mishap, I kept trying to save him. Let's talk to him. Let's talk to him. Let's talk to him. And he just kept playing. And he finally was like, no, because he taking our words for a joke. So we took
everything from we had conversations with him, like
he wasn't finishing his homework, but saying that he was, and his grades ended up slipping to the point that it got bad.
Yeah, this is a straight A student who lets his grades slip, all because he just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, not that he didn't know how.
Matter of fact, he was doing it.
He wasn't turning it in.
So you just don't care at that point. So yeah, we tried all the different forms, but at some point though, like, I just think, you know, you should be allowed to say, all right, man, you're gonna get a spanking for this. And our perspectives are different because I probably got my last spanking at like 5 or 6 years old. I didn't get a lot of spankings.
I was definitely,
Now, if it was up to my pops, I would have definitely got my ass tagged a couple more times. But my mom was like the guardian angel, so same way she is with the grandkids now. When the grandkids are acting up, especially Luke, she'd be like, Luke, it's gonna break my heart if you get a spanking. Like, don't you just stop? Because she never wanted to see kids get whooped. But I feel the same way my dad felt about it. Sometimes that a child needs that.
Yeah.
And I get from your perspective, it breaks your heart. You don't want to have to do it. I think the one time you even was like gonna do
He
it,
told me a bold-faced lie, little James, and I hit him one time, and
she was
I was
crying.
crying for the rest of the night. So I couldn't.
She was crying.
can't do
And I
it.
came home like, what is wrong with you? And she telling me like, oh, I should have did it. I'm like, yo, he's a boy. He'll be all right. Like sometimes it's necessary. He probably don't even remember that moment.
He probably don't, but I do. It's stuck with me forever.
So I think, the one thing I do think is important though is that parents have to be on the same page about discipline before you have kids.
Yeah, I mean, because I think my perspective, but like before having kids, I wasn't necessarily against spanking.
Right.
So, but as as we've evolved in our life and in our parenthood journey, I've learned that it's not something that it's not. I don't like it. I don't
not
like
your
it.
ministry, as you always like to
No,
say.
it's not my ministry. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like the message that it sends to them from me. Like I just, in my head, it's almost like, we wouldn't encourage women to be in a and not saying that spanking your child is the same as being in a domestic violence situation, but hear me out.
I'm about to say, where is this going?
Hear me out. You have a woman or a woman that you care about that's being abused, and person X, Y, and Z is saying, I'm doing this because I love you. That they don't go together. And to
Right.
me, it kind of feels like I'm sending that message to my kid.
I mean, I guess
it's kind of a reach, but it kind of makes sense, right?
it kind of makes sense, but it is a bit of a reach too, because discipline is because you love someone, because you're trying to show them a different way so that they don't go down a path. And as parents, all we can do is try to instill like certain things in our children. Like we're giving you the blueprint on how to live life.
Yeah.
And children, no matter what you lay out for them, they always still going to deviate from the path. We go through the shit so that they don't have to, but they still want to go through it too. They want to learn
it for themselves. But I think back, I'm not sure what I read or what I was listening to, but it says something along the lines of like, especially in the Deep South, that a lot of black families, a lot of black moms, they would whoop their children mostly, out of fear that if they didn't correct their tone or their behavior or where they were doing or where they were roaming off to, that they wouldn't make it home.
Yeah.
Because they would end up dead, lynched, drugged by a car, all of these things. So it's some, and while that can be true, because that's a whole nother topic for another day with, if our kids have a run in with the wrong type of people or the wrong, but I think it's some things that we continuously have to unlearn.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. We have to unlearn those things. And, I think what's great is when you become a parent on your own, you get to take what didn't go so well from your own parents and those experiences and figure out like, what do I need to change so that when I'm dealing with my children, I don't feel that way. 'Cause this thing hurt me or didn't make me feel good, or I didn't like how my parents made me feel with this. So you have that. I mean, but at the core of that though, there's never going to be any perfect child.
No.
Every child is going to mess up, and there's going to be a moment where, you're going to have to correct the behavior, and talking to them may work. Grounding them may work. Taking things away from them may work. But I just want us to live in a world where if a parent does decide to spank their child, which I have done, our oldest, Zoe's never gotten a spanking because she's Zoe.
She might make me head, but her teenager.
Yeah, like, I think you more prone to spank Zoe than I would. I ain't touching my baby. But Pooh has gotten a spanking before, and I don't feel bad about it because I know that I've never beaten. Like I never beat him. I never abused him.
Yeah.
I never disciplined him while I was angry. You know what I mean? But it was always about, hey man, I tried multiple things with you, and none of those things worked. Now this is always the last resort. You brought me here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm hoping that his situation is kind of similar to what mine was. It was like, all right, when I was younger, I got a couple little taps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I got to a certain age and I didn't get them anymore. And it was like, I knew, because what I always would revert back to, even when I did make a wrong decision, it was like, even in the moment about to do something bad, I be thinking, like, I really shouldn't do this shit right now. But
because my dad's not gonna play with me.
my dad's not gonna play with me. I'm gonna disappoint my mom's. And then 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't do it. And then the one time I would do it, had a conversation. What was you thinking? All right, that was stupid. Your ass is grounded for a month. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta take that.
Yeah. I think so. I have another question. Kind of in the same space. Do you think that you should apologize to your kids when you're wrong or when you've overreacted or?
Yes, 100%. And I think that goes to, I would say, probably something that we didn't hear a lot from our own parents and grandparents growing up. Like, it'd be one thing to niggas. They may try to beat around the bush, and like you could tell that they knew they was wrong, but they would never come out and say it.
You want to get some ice cream?
Yeah, you want to get some ice cream? You want to go to the park? But I think what's better now is that I think I did this a couple of months ago. I talked to you about it. Like I had come down on Pooh, really hard about something, and I thought about it and I felt bad about it afterwards. Now he earned
I remember
what I said to him and my response, but in trying to like continually to get better as a parent, I thought about it, I prayed about it, and realized that, you know what, I need to go talk to him and apologize to him for responding in that manner, just because I didn't want him to hold that.
Yeah.
So I do think that parents should apologize and apologize early and often. Like if you're wrong, we ask our kids to apologize when they're wrong. So we can't be too big or too good on the other side to apologize to them when we're wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't mind apologizing to them. And while I'm not big on spanking, I am a screamer. I am a yeller. I be raising hell.
Yes, just always goddamn loud for no reason too.
So
like,
I am working on that, and I do find myself trying to apologizing for them necessarily, especially if I'm like caught up in work and they're trying to do something, and I get snappy or something, and I end up yelling at them. I will absolutely apologize, because you would just see like their faces.
Yeah, and I think we just, I think what opened my mind more to apologizing was last year and being
just all together
quarantined, and like all of our patience as parents was tried last year. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us were a lot more on edge and uneasy just because we didn't have any separation from each other.
Right.
We were all on top of each other every single day. Our school teachers were not being used. Daycares were not being used. So you didn't have an outlet. So there were some times where frustration from other things that might be going on might make something that your kid did make you more angry than it would have a year ago.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So it's like being cognizant enough of that to recognize it and say, you know what? Nah, I was wrong. I probably shouldn't have responded like that. So I definitely think we gotta apologize more as parents.
That, and I think it helps to be the spouse or the partner that holds, your co-parent accountable. Because for 99% of the time, because this is the fun parent, ladies and gentlemen. And if you saw our this or that video on YouTube, the kid said that, on Instagram, this is the fun parent. So when you choose to get loud or discipline the kids however you see fit, I usually just take whoever isn't in trouble and go on about my business. I try not to interject when, you're doing your dad thing. Mm-hmm. But there has been a time where like you've snapped and I've been like, all right, you should probably go talk to him, because that was a lot and his mm-hmm. feelings are crushed. So I just think that it helps to be able to not only, look for accountability in yourself, but be able to hold your partner accountable when they might need to apologize, because sometimes you need to hear it.
Yeah, and it's easier for another person who's watching it go down and unfold to say, you know what, I seen both sides of it, and I think that what you did was a little over the top.
Yeah.
Or or your response was a little extra, and you need to apologize. And that's part of being in a strong partnership, relationship, whatever, marriage, is having a partner or a co-parent that can recognize those things and hold you accountable, because we all need to be held accountable, because it's going to be tough. Like, most kids aren't going to come to you and be like, yo, daddy, what you said was fucked up. And I really want you to apologize to me. I know I would have never said that to my dad growing up. You know what I mean? So I think it's good, and I think it's needed to have, you know, somebody with you who can tell you that. And I think that's important. We all have to do better about that, because just like if we get into something, we have to apologize and identify and recognize when we're wrong. We have to do that same thing with our children. And I think that's the biggest difference generationally between today's parenting and parenting 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
I'm not even going to say our parents, because sometimes they will apologize, sometimes they won't. But I know, I kind of feel like my parents and your parents are in different generations, because I feel like my grandparents ain't apologizing for nothing.
No. Yeah, my grandmother, no.
They not apologizing for nothing.
No.
You just going to have to be mad because they not apologizing.
I got slapped by my grandmother one time, and to this day, I want an apology for that shit. Because I'm like, yo, it wasn't even warranted, but I would die before she would ever say sorry for that, because that was just that generation. It wasn't gonna happen.
They are not apologizing for nothing. They ain't did nothing wrong. They are the elder. You are the not elder. So you got to deal with it.
You'll get a whooping if you suggest that they should apologize. Like, what you said? What, you want me to tear your ass up again?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, the discipline conversation is important. There's so much that parenting is hard.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we just got to give people more grace. I've been talking about this a lot lately. We got to give people more grace. We got to give children more grace, because they're going through a lot right now. The world has been totally flipped upside down for them. But then we got to give parents more grace too, because just think about it like a single mom. Think of you as a single mom with 3 children.
I just don't know, because I'm not a single mom with 3 children, and I'm batshit crazy. So
just think about, like, if you didn't have any help and everything was all on you, the pressure of just life would be a lot. Then you got to think about children on top of it. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying? So we got to give people more grace in how they respond to things, and stop being so goddamn sensitive about every single thing. Yes, if they're abusing kids, report them. I don't agree with abusing any child.
But I do believe there's a difference between spanking. I do believe there's a difference between spanking and beating the shit out of your child.
Absolutely. There 100% is. And, you know, if you only have one child, then you don't know what we're talking about in terms of, like, each child is totally different. Like, you can,
because little James, even though he has been spanked before, we can probably count on one hand the number of times, because he's, for the most part, he's a very mild, quiet, to himself kind of kid.
He's just mischievous and a bad liar.
He is a very bad liar.
He gets it from his mother. So when you add that into the mix,
why you?
It's the truth.
That's not necessary.
That's your DNA.
Continue.
When you add that to the mix, you know, there are going to be certain things. And the thing with him is, we had him when we were younger. Like, we was early 20s. You know what I'm saying? When we had him.
And so we probably had a bit more patience. I think we did.
I think we did and we didn't, because we were trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of patience with him when he was younger, and then when he got older and started, like, with these little weird, like, lying and, like, stupid stuff, it was like, all right, bro.
He lies about the stupid stuff. I don't understand it, but go ahead.
Yeah. So when he starts lying about stupid stuff over and over and over again, it'd be like 10 conversations before something actually happened to Pooh.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't even be mad at the thing that he did that he's lying about. You're just mad because he's looking you in your face, telling you a lie. Yeah. Like, I want to headbutt you. Why do you keep lying to me?
Like, bro, we already told you would never get in trouble for this thing. Just
stop lying.
Stop lying about it. We don't care about the thing. Just don't lie about it. And after saying that 20 times, yes, you gotta try something different. So,
well, for the most part, he's a very to himself kid. Zoe, on the other hand, and Zoe isn't a troublemaker, but oh my God, her mouth.
And see, her mouth is gonna drive you more nuts than it is with me, because I feel like y'all gonna have that girl thing when she's in
absolutely
her teenage
years. She because she is my child, so it's only so mad that I should be able to get at it. But it's like, little girl, who you talking to?
Oh, but no, you bring up a great point though, and that's why I'm not gonna allow you to touch my baby at all, because I 100% believe in that. You cannot discipline your child for anything that is you. You cannot. So like when Pooh does certain things that I know is like my DNA, my personality, while it might be irritating to see it playing out in front of my eyes again, it's like, well, shit, I was just like that. So when he don't want to take a picture sometimes or something, he's like having a fit about it, you're fussing, and I'm over here chilling like, Pooh, I really don't want to take this goddamn picture too. And when I was your age, I definitely wouldn't have taken the picture. So I get it. I can't discipline any child for things that I gave them through my DNA. So you cannot touch my baby.
Well, who is Luke?
Luke got to be you, because that ain't me. I think
Luke is a big old combination of all of us.
whatever hell you rose or did,
I was not a hellraiser as a kid.
a child, I feel like we getting paid back right now, because we didn't even get the terrible. It's the delayed terrible twos.
Yeah. They started like 2 weeks ago, and it's been like, bruh.
Yes.
And what's even more crazy is that, because y'all know, now the kids go to my mom's house during the day. He is a perfect angel for my mom.
Yeah.
No talk back, no fuss, but eats all his food, does everything Nana says. Thank you. Like, he is just, my mom, almost to the point that my mom thinks we're lying when I tell her, like, the other night, example, Luke would not eat all his food. So I'm like messaging my mom, like, what do you say to him to normally get all his food eaten? And I'm like saying the stuff she told me to say, and I'm saying in all this nice voice. And little James ends up saying that, yeah, Nana got the magic touch. And James says, yeah, I got the magic touch, all right. You gonna get an ass whooping. Luke in turn says, because not realizing that it's anything wrong, I'm not gonna get an ass whooping. I'm gonna spank your butt. Like, what?
The fact that he knew to correlate ass whooping and spanking together, because I don't even really curse around my kids. But in that moment, he was trying it all day long. So when they talking magic touch, I'm like, I'm gonna give him the magic touch, all right? I'm gonna touch that ass. And Luke straight up was like, I'm not gonna get no ass whooping. I'm gonna spank you.
I don't know what we are going to do with him.
That kid has been here before.
He has.
And I don't know, like.
We call him Uncle Luke because it's like a 30-year-old, maybe like a 50-year-old trapped in a 2-year-old's body. He is. If you watch him on my Instagram stories, then you know that baby has absolutely been here before.
He's been here before. I don't know what we're gonna do with him. Like, he's one of them kids that I don't even know if spanking is gonna do anything for him.
It's not, because when he says something, even at 2, he means it. He's very strong-willed. Like, remember that time he was like hitting Zoe, and we told him to say sorry, and he said no. I don't want to say sorry. And he meant it. He was fine sitting in timeout and not playing because he wasn't sorry.
Yeah. He's gonna be.
He's a handful.
I sense a lot of gray hairs that are gonna pop up in my beard and in my hair because of that child. Like, he's sweetest when he's sweet.
Oh, but he's a little force.
When he's decided that he don't want to be sweet and he digs his heels into the ground, that's it.
He is a force.
Yeah, so this was a great combo.
I think so.
Just talking about discipline. So we would love to hear y'all's thoughts, man. Like, what are your thoughts on discipline? Do you spank your kids? Are you totally against it? Did you have that conversation with your partner before y'all had kids? Do y'all disagree on it? You know what I mean? And we'd love to hear like how you overcome disagreements too.
Yeah,
some people are really like, you can't touch my kids ever.
Right. I think for the most part, and that's a different whole nother like part 2 to it, because like my family knows that because I'm not like the spanking person. Like, my mom doesn't hit them, my dad wouldn't hit them, because they know that like that's not like our primary discipline tactic. So yeah, tell us like, what's your discipline style?
Yeah, that's definitely a topic, because I don't know that I want anybody touching my kids.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, like.
Thanks.
Yeah, just don't.
Please don't.
my immediate reaction if somebody touches my kids is I'm gonna touch you. So
yeah,
don't touch my children. Don't touch my kids, and we good.
Please don't.
But yeah, get into them comments for us at Life Partner Gang across all the social. We really want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. And then we're going to be coming back soon. So, wrapping things up, I'm James.
I am Tina.
We the Life Partner Gang.
Gang, gang.
Peace.
Bye.